Hey, everybody. Craig Lindell, waitingfornextyear.com podcast. Today, we're going to talk to Jessica Forrester about a number of different sports topics, as well as I think we're going to talk about brunch. We'll see what else comes up. It should be fun. It's been too long since I caught up with Jessica. But before we get there, Patreon, patreon.com/WFNY. And now's the part where I make fun of Dave Sterling. And I'm going to make fun of him because I know he fast forwards this section of the podcast. He told me he fast forwards this section of the podcast to listen to the rest of it. So now I'm going to make fun of Dave. He's funny looking. He has horrible taste in podcasts other than this one. And I don't like him very much. Patreon, patreon.com/WFNY. You skip the opening anymore, Dave, and you admit it? That's what you get. Take that. Patreon.com/WFNY. Now here's Jessica Forrester.
Waiting for next year. Waiting for next year.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Craig. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. It's been a really long time since I've been on one.
How long has it been?
You know what? I looked, because we talk
I'm
over
such a
Skype.
bad producer.
We talk over Skype to do this, and the last Skype call I had was with you doing a podcast last February.
Oh my
so
goodness.
like over a year.
That was the same kind of situation I had with Sports Yelling too, where we podcasted on the 3-year anniversary of the first time we ever podcasted. It was so weird.
That's
weird.
funny.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about some sports before we get into the non-sports things.
Okay.
I wrote, by the time people are hearing this, that it'll probably be on the site, but I wrote a little bit about Colin Kaepernick because for some reason in Cleveland, whenever there's a quarterback who doesn't have a team, and even sometimes in the case of Jimmy Garoppolo, when they do have a team, they must be discussed in the prism of Cleveland sports.
Right, of course.
So, yeah, I mean, Joe Thomas tweeted, and by the way, Joe Thomas tweeting is one of the best things ever. But he tweeted that, some part of it is where Colin Kaepernick is as a player, and some part of it is the controversy surrounding him, the reason that he doesn't have a job. How can you assign a percentage, or does it even matter to you?
I was not ever bothered by Colin Kaepernick and what he chose to do when he was in San Francisco and when he was taking a knee. It did not really bother me. I thought he was polite and respectful and just had made a decision to express himself in that way, and I thought it was totally okay. That said, I totally don't want him in the realm of Cleveland sports. We have had enough craziness associated with the Browns. It's been one fiasco or media circus after another. And I agree with Joe Thomas that a lot of teams don't want to get anywhere near that. And I don't think that the Browns need to get involved.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously the Colin Kaepernick media circus is completely and totally different than, say, Johnny Manziel or Josh Gordon. But at the same time, attention and circuses are circus.
Right.
So it's hard to fault the Browns for maybe not just saying, "Hey, look, anything that's non-football related, we want nothing to do with." I mean, I didn't love Colin Kaepernick's decision, but I kind of always presume, or I kind of always feel like the what you do during the national anthem is kind of a personal choice. So I'm okay with it. It's not what I wouldn't have chosen to do it, but.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's just, I feel like for how many seasons now have we kind of been a laughing stock? Do we really want to go there? Is that really what we want to do? I don't think that it is.
Well, on top of it, and this is something that I wrote in the piece that you haven't read yet because it's not posted yet, but it's at this point, the story is unfinished. And so many times in my, I'll call it a career, sports blogging, you end up wasting all these words on topics that are just that enough time hasn't passed yet. I mean, the draft isn't over yet. We'll see if Colin Kaepernick finds a job or not. If he doesn't find a job, it's going to be a huge story. But, I
Right.
mean, it's hard to believe he won't find a job somewhere.
I was just going to say, do you think that he will find one? I do. I think he'll end up somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he showed promise last year, and he's not completely and totally over the hill. And, I mean, this league is so starved for anybody who can play the position. And most teams need at least 2 guys in any given year. It's just hard to believe.
Right. No, I totally agree.
But I'm with you. I don't want him on the Browns.
I don't I wish him well. I hope he ends up somewhere, but I just hope it's not here. I really hope it's not here.
And the real reason that I don't think I want him is because I feel like we've already played that part of the playbook where we tried to resurrect RG3 and granted,
Right.
Colin Kaepernick had a pretty good year last year, but I still feel like it's kind of a reclamation project.
Right. No, and I was thinking that too, RG3, that we were supposed to be his second, third, whatever chance to kind of to make it work, and it didn't, and I feel like it would be the same thing all over again.
I'd rather go through it again with young guys out of the draft and Cody Kessler in his second year.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So how are you team Jimmy Garoppolo?
I kind of am. I don't know. I feel like we constantly take these young quarterbacks in the draft that aren't ready, and we just throw them out there, and then they get completely demolished. And I'm afraid that if we took a quarterback young in the draft, I'm afraid that would happen again. I love the idea of getting Jimmy Garoppolo, who has some experience in the league. He's been playing behind Tom Brady. That seems like such a better move for us, I think.
Well, and on top of that, he's kind of he has the potential to be Tony Romo before Tony Romo became old.
Right. Right.
He's got a very similar style. He gets the ball out quickly. He seems to, he's not undersized, but he's also not a big guy. He's not super fast, but he's surprisingly athletic. He can escape the pocket. And, there's so many people who are paranoid because, they want to make up fake rules where, well, Bill Belichick never trades a guy who's good. That's not true.
Right.
I don't know. I get. Do you ever get tired of all the fake rules people make up and then just describe them as being logical?
Yes, totally. Or so anecdotal. One thing happens one time, and that's the golden rule forever moving forward.
That was my favorite thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. I was talking about him, and somebody said he's injury prone.
Well, it's the NFL. They're all injury prone, right?
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, he got hurt in the second game because of an illegal knock him into the ground hit by the Dolphins. If anybody gets picked up and pile driven into the turf,
right,
it's kind of reasonable to assume that they're going to get hurt.
I think that's totally reasonable.
But no, he's injury prone. Who wants him? Who needs him?
Right. We need him. We actually really do need him.
Yeah, and so it's just a question of what he's worth, and that's really hard to figure out.
Yeah, and I'm not good at figuring out that kind of stuff. I'm not equipped with football knowledge.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm not good at figuring that stuff out either. All I can say that is he's not worth the number 1 overall pick, and he's probably not worth the number 12 pick.
Probably not. We worked really hard to earn that number 1 overall pick.
Oh, and the number 12. We had to watch what's his face in Philly play all year, Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still hard for me to believe that was a storyline for the first 4 weeks of the season. Is that the Browns are stupid? They didn't take this guy.
Doesn't that seem so long, so far away ago? I don't know. I feel so detached from football season right now. I can't even. I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
Well, it's March. And the Brown season basically ended in September, early October.
When was the first game? Because that's pretty much when it ended.
Yeah, but I mean, once they start 0-4, 0-5, I mean, then it's that's the earliest we've ever had to talk about the draft, I think.
Right. Yeah. No, you're totally right.
The only thing that filled the space was, are they going to go 0-16 or not?
You know, and like, what did they win the very last game of the season? Like, we couldn't even do a perfect season with no wins, right? Like, we won one game.
They won the second to last, and then they should have beat the Steelers when the Steelers didn't play anybody, but they lost in overtime.
That's right. See, I blocked it out of my memory. I don't even remember what happened.
Oh, and that game was like, it was weird because it was kind of painless and kind of painful both at the same time.
I mean, I feel like that was pretty much the whole season.
Yeah.
You could describe it that way.
Yeah. The frustration, were you feeling the frustration at any point during that season, or was it gone like by the end of the week 2?
You know, I don't know exactly when it happened, but I just really stopped feeling like emotionally invested in that team. Like, I wish there was a specific game or point or even play that I like knew for sure I was just over it. But I just, at some point over the last season, I really stopped investing my emotions in them.
Yeah, well, and there wasn't even that one player. I mean, you love Joe Hayden, you love Joe Thomas, but it's so hard on a football field with that number of guys to like really rally around somebody. And it kind of reminded me this week of why Josh Cribbs was so special. I mean, he retired and everything. But like, at least when the Browns were bad all those years ago with Josh Cribbs, you had that one guy who returned the ball 4 or 5 times a game and could electrify the crowd once or twice. Yeah,
totally agree. He was like at least something to smile about during those dark years.
Did you have a couple of specific Cribbs memories, or?
You know, I was thinking about that, and I really didn't. I agree with you. He was always like a bright spot. He was kind of like electrifying to watch when you would see him run out, and you'd see, you know, his dreads coming out the back of his helmet. Like, he was just someone to watch for and someone to be excited about always. And I feel like the team, I don't know, he did a lot for that team, a lot more than just returning punts and kickoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing when you really consider the career that he had, the fact that he was able to, you know, get the contracts he was able to get and own the fan base the way that he was able to. For a special teamer, it's got to be like relatively unheard of in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I loved that he went to Kent and he had some more of like a local tie here. You know what I mean? I think that helped make him a special player for us.
Yeah, well, and plus the community stuff. He and Joe Hayden have been probably as much in the community, as active in the community as any two players that we can remember in any of the sports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But not like at least in the case of Cribbs, it's not like in the party scene.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like both of them saw the opportunity in Cleveland to be a standout off the field, like in the community, and they really, I don't want to say took advantage of it, but they really went for it and made themselves like such central figures in the community. Joe Hayden may be a little bit of the bar scene, but I actually got to meet him once at a bar in Cleveland. He could not have been nicer or more gracious to talk to me and my friends about being Browns fans and everything. Like, he could not have been nicer.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who just gets it.
Yes, 100%.
It's going to be sad if they ever decide, based on salary cap reasons, it's time to cut Joe Hayden, because it could very well be next year.
I know, and that's so weird. Like, I can't even imagine that, like him not being a Brown, you know?
Yeah. Well, and honestly, a team with this much cap space, it's almost unfathomable to think that they would cut a guy like Joe Hayden, you know, to save $6 or $7 million on the cap.
Right. Wouldn't make a lot of sense. But the Browns don't make a lot of sense, so maybe that's what they'll do.
Well, and that's the other thing is, like, we don't even know these guys yet. Like, I agree with you that the Browns don't make a lot of sense, but I'm speaking from a history that, like, really doesn't include these guys who've been making decisions for, 14, 15 months now?
Right, that's a good point. I feel like we don't really know them or what they're capable of quite yet.
And nobody knows how they think.
No.
It's
I guess it's like a wait and see.
They haven't even tipped their hand to the number one pick in the draft. How do you not do that?
I don't know.
Like, is it really a mystery? You've got your number one pick. You've got the pick.
Right. I feel like if they trade it away, like, the city of Cleveland will just, like, either implode or, like, self-ignite and, like, light on fire. Like, I cannot imagine it if they do that.
What percentage chance do you think there is that they would actually trade that pick away?
What percentage do I think
they would burn the city to the ground by trading it?
I think it's probably a pretty high percentage.
Did you get, like, some cheapo StubHub tickets last year, or did you not even bother going to any of the games?
To Browns games?
Yeah.
I went to one preseason game, and then I think I went to one regular season game. Just friends that had extra tickets that couldn't give them away,
Yeah.
just gave them to me. I did not buy any tickets to any Browns games.
Yeah, we didn't renew this year. It's the first time
since
the 80s.
That's crazy.
Yeah, at a certain point, you just, when you see them every week for pennies on the dollar on secondary sites, maybe that means they're finally going to be good, but that's my paranoia, but it's hard to imagine.
I know. I think that you're not alone in walking away from your season tickets. I've heard a lot of friends either doing the same or planning on doing the same because it's just not feeling worth the investment anymore.
Well, and especially in the same year where if you had season tickets for the other teams, you were quote unquote forced, or you were happy to buy playoff tickets for the Indians and playoff tickets for the Cavs. I mean, when you buy playoff tickets for baseball and the team goes to Game 7 of the World Series, it's almost like paying for an entire extra season.
Right. And it feels so much more worth it, and it's so much more rewarding, I think, as a ticket holder.
Yeah, it certainly provides all the contrast you need, and that's probably where we should go next. How it's not even just in the stadium. How amazing and you live downtown, how amazing is this summer going to be with that extra 30% of people walking around downtown and going to the bars and the restaurants and everything else for the Indians all summer long?
I cannot wait. I have a countdown timer on my phone for opening day because it's my favorite day of the year, and I think it kicks off the best time of the year. The weather starts to warm up and getting out to the Jake for a game. I used to live closer to the Jake. I was on East 4th, and it's awesome to see, the street jam-packed with people, every bar and restaurant full. Even before we got into, the playoffs and the World Series and everything, just on like a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon. So I'm looking forward to that. I really cannot wait.
So did you move out of Cleveland proper? Are you in the burbs now?
I'm still downtown. I'm just a little bit away from East 4th. I was there for like almost 5 years, and the hustle and bustle gets a little bit old. So I moved to a quieter spot of downtown.
That's nice. Yeah, I can. And downtown's got enough little kind of neighborhood pockets and different hot spots that it's kind of nice to move around a little bit if you're renting.
Yeah, no, I'm still downtown.
You don't have to tell me where.
Okay, I will.
I don't want the Jessica stalkers to go looking for you.
Oh, right.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for the business owners down there. I know that like the Paninis in the was it what on West 6th or West 9th? West 6th?
West 6, yep.
And it closed because the Browns were so bad this year. They couldn't count
Oh,
on
did
that.
it really?
Yeah, they went out of business. They couldn't carry their year because they counted on all those Sundays, and when people stopped coming, they didn't make their nut this year, I guess.
Wow, I didn't realize that. There has been like a lot of turnover of bars and restaurants on West 6th. I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense. I mean, this past Brown season, I definitely was out and about on Sundays a lot less, and I think a lot of people were.
All right, so yeah, it opened in 2002, and it closed. The story in Scene magazine is from December 13th, 2016.
Oh wow, that shows you how much I go to West 6. I had no idea.
Well, and that street is like the place before Browns games.
Oh, it's wall-to-wall people usually on a Sunday afternoon.
And I'm sure there's bound to be some turnover anyway, just because, and this will kind of segue into our brunch conversation, but the amount of things that open and continue to open, like my friend Doug, who writes for Scene, was writing about the kind of the huge number of brew pubs and breweries that are going to open in the next year. Like, we're going to hit a saturation point.
I know. And it's, I don't know when that point happens. I know like a couple places, even in the new East Bank of the Flats, have already closed because they just couldn't sustain, I think, the large space that they were occupying. But it's, now in Cleveland, there are so many different choices. You can go to the Gateway District. You can go to the Warehouse District. You can go to Tremont or Ohio City or the West Bank of the Flats or the East Bank. Like there are so many different choices. I think it's tough.
Yeah, I know I think it was a steakhouse in the same building as the Aloft kind of turned over once already.
Ken Stewart's became Bold. Wileyville on the other end of that little strip is also gone now. And then in the newer part of the East Bank, like right on the water, I think all of the restaurants associated with Crop have all closed. I think they had 3 different spots down there.
Oh, I think you're right. And it's tough. Sometimes it's hard to be the first person to enter a space. You incur all the expense. It's almost easier to be the second person in a space.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You get, it's like brown seats that are purchased for pennies on the dollar in the secondary market. You get all that equipment's used.
Right.
But so, obviously, we're all going out to eat all the time. What are some of the current like big time winners? Our favorite thing to do lately is because with the 2 kids, sometimes it's tougher to get out to dinners and different things. So we aim for Sunday brunch, and over the last couple weeks we've been to. Well, this week we went to Barrio. That's a staple for us, the Barrio Brunch. Have you ever done Barrio Brunch?
You know what? I have been to Barrio about 6 million times, but I don't think I've actually ever been there for Sunday brunch.
Oh, that makes me sad.
I know. I need to put it on my list.
So
there's just so many good brunch spots, and I don't think of that as a brunch spot. I think of it as a taco place. So I don't know. It never comes to mind for me for brunch.
Well, let me tell you about it because they for the kids they make for my kids anyway. It's like this French toast bowl, and it's basically a giant bowl of French toast bread pudding with like whipped cream on top.
Nice. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and my youngest gets a side of bacon to go with that, and he is in heaven.
Well, you should always, wherever you are, you should always have a side of bacon with your brunch. That's just like rule number 1.
Well, and I think it's genius on his part, if I can say so, to mix all that sweetness with and then have a taste of bacon on the side of that. That's the
perfect.
Salty and sweet combo.
That is. It's perfect. That's exactly what brunch is for.
And then the rest of the menu, like this morning, I had it was a taco that was chicken and waffles. So they take the chicken and they they batter it in waffle. I almost said dough, waffle batter, and then they fry it, and they put it with like some collard greens and a fried egg and some beans and stuff, and it's incredible.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So, and then my wife just gets regular tacos because she just likes regular tacos.
Well, I mean, they're great at Barrio, so I don't blame her.
Yeah. And then the week before that, we went to a music brunch at Sterle's.
Oh, nice.
Have you been out to Sterle's?
You know, only when they used to do the Cleveland Flea there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, in the parking lot.
I had only ever been out there for the Flea, but I've heard it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's, I'm going to sound really stupid, but it's an ethnic kind of a food. I wish I could tell you exactly which ethnicity it was. But it's and I should know, I just can't remember. It's really good.
Is it German? I feel like it's German.
It's definitely like pierogi-ish. I don't know that it's German specifically. It could be some kind of other, something in that region. I just can't remember, but it's really good. And I'll
have to put it on my list too.
And they've got they always have great musicians playing there on Sunday mornings too. So that's kind of like my thing. If I can get the kids in front of live music, I do that too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so now's your turn. There's so many good brunch spots. Give me like 2 or 3 that I need to add to my list for Sunday mornings. Okay.
First of all, I could talk about brunch for 5 hours. Like we could do a whole podcast series on brunch, but I'll try to keep it short. I love Urban Farmer in the Weston. It's like East 6th in St. Clair. It's amazing for brunch. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but it's amazing inside. Make it a point to take them to Urban Farmer for brunch.
Okay, you cut out a tiny bit there, but I caught most of it. So what is it about Urban Farmer that's so great for brunch?
You know, they locally source as much as they possibly can. So there's most of their menu is coming from like local Ohio farms or, around the region. So everything is like really fresh and just delicious. The inside is amazing. It's like a very cool space to just walk around. It's just, I don't know, it feels a little bit more like an experience. So it's a fun one to take people to.
Is it, would you call it kid friendly or should I keep them away?
I definitely think it's kid friendly. I always see like families there with little kids. I definitely think it is. It's a little bit on the price.
I think all brunch should be kid friendly.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like a family kind of outing, I think. Urban Farmer is a little bit on the pricey side, but I think it's worth it and it's fun to do every now and then.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, we'll save up for a big trip if it's worth it. The worst thing is when you pay a bunch of money for something and it's not worth it.
Right. Oh no, it's totally worth it. It's amazing.
I usually try and avoid giant buffets because it's too much money and I don't get my money's worth. Especially with kids.
I agree. And they do have a buffet, but I've never gotten it. They have a full brunch menu, and it's everything I've ever had has been absolutely delicious. Have never had a bad brunch there.
All right. Next.
Okay. Next is actually like a newer place in Cleveland. It's called Astoria. And I almost don't want to talk about it because I feel like nobody knows about it yet. And it's going to get popular. It's on Detroit, kind of right, if you were downtown heading to Gordon Square, it's kind of right before you hit Gordon Square on Detroit, like maybe between like 54th and 55th, I think. It's a little kind of world market. They have different like cuisine and like it's a little grocery store with products from around the world. And then it is a teeny tiny little restaurant with maybe like 5 or 6 tables and a full bar, but it is the best brunch I think I've ever had in my whole life.
I almost feel like I should delete this part of the podcast.
I know it's like a hidden gem right now because they're newer. I think they've opened within the last month or two. But but I went there once with a group of friends, and randomly everybody ended up ordering something different. Like there was a brunch pizza, and I had croque madame and French toast, blueberry pancakes, like a little bit of everything. And we all just passed our plates around. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and we were just passing plates left and right because everything was amazing. It was so good.
You're almost underselling it. It's blueberry quinoa pancakes with lemon crema.
You're looking it up right now?
I am, and there's something called a spanakopita, which is like
I don't know if any
phyllo dough with with butter and stuff.
I don't know if anyone got that, but it was like unreal, and I feel like it's gonna blow up. Like as soon as people
hold up, the breakfast pizza is tomato sauce, prosciutto, mortadella, bacon, arugula, fresh mozzarella, and fried eggs.
Yes, it was
That's
amazing.
All right, this is going straight to the list.
But like I've been telling anyone that will listen like to go check it out because it's unreal.
All right, is there any place to go after you list the best one?
Today I went to the Flying Fig for brunch for the first time.
I've only been there for dinner.
Yeah, I have only been there for dinner too, and I've always had great dinners there, but the brunch was awesome. Like, I mean, it was really good. The wait staff was very awesome. Like, we had great service. It was a really great brunch.
That's at West 25th, right?
It's on Market, like where Great Lakes Brewing is, that little side street off of 25th.
Right. So kind of that region.
So yeah, yep, right there.
Us suburban folk, West 25th is close enough.
Yeah, I mean it's the vicinity, yes.
All right, and so what was so good about that one?
I had the brunch burger. We got there a little late, so I went for the brunch burger, which was basically just a bacon cheeseburger with like a fried egg on top. But it was just really well. It was really well done. It was really, really good. That
was my favorite thing at Melt when they used to have the breakfast burger. It's just bacon, egg, and cheese with a hamburger. It was so good.
Yes. Though. I mean, I love like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich in general, and then you throw a burger in there too. Like, gimme.
Yeah. Well, so it's not like a cool place to go. It's actually a chain. But First Watch, if you go to First Watch sometime, and you get the BLTE with an egg on it.
Oh yeah, that sounds really good.
It's real. I mean, any cafe should be able to make this, but I've never seen it anywhere else, and it's just really good. So
I really like First Watch. I think it's great.
That's my go-to healthy lunch option when I'm meeting somebody out for like a business lunch.
Yeah, there's one right by my office, so we hit it up for lunch all the time.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else? Is there any parting shots?
Well, now I'm starving because we just talked about all this brunch. So, I don't know. I'm just thinking about food a lot now.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about all that food that we can now get right inside Progressive Field. Good. And that's where we should finish this baseball season. Are you going to the home opener?
I am going to the home opener. Can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have done such a good job of like incorporating local restaurants. Every year they've added a few more. I love what they've done with like the food options inside the park.
And it really could have been just like a cheesy nod, like a knockoff, but they did it legit. It's just like eating in the actual restaurants for the most part.
It is. I mean, they have so many restaurants, and every restaurant has like a pretty full menu, a lot of options. It's not like a stripped down menu. You have so many choices.
Yeah. And they didn't charge like full price either. Or they didn't mark it up the way they could have. Like, during the playoffs, I got my wife just a plain old grilled cheese at Melt with a side of chips that comes with it, and it was like $6. And for a stadium,
Yeah.
that was totally reasonable.
Yeah, you're right. It is totally reasonable given where you are.
Yeah. Well, and the team being good finally justified what they did with the corner and everything. It really let all that stuff shine. All that stuff felt kind of like, all right, well, what about the baseball team when they did it? And then here was the baseball team. I was like, yes, this is great.
Right. No, I totally agree. What's your favorite ballpark food to get when you're there?
Oh, for me, it's easily nachos. And if I can get fancy nachos now, I'll do that, but I don't need it. If I could just have that liquid cheese.
Right.
All about that liquid cheese. Do you go jalapenos or no?
I go light jalapenos. So there's some, but they're not like overtaking.
Yeah. See, I get all the, like if I'm sharing with my wife, I just automatically get all the jalapenos because she doesn't want them. So
yeah. That's what happens. Inevitably, you're sharing with someone who doesn't like them, or like one person wants them and one person doesn't.
Are you bold enough to get your nachos in a helmet?
So I was gonna say, one of my best friends, for her birthday last year, all she wanted was helmet nachos. So we were at the game. I bought her helmet nachos. I brought a birthday candle to put in them. And we were going to sing to her, but it dawned on me I didn't have a lighter. None of us are smokers. We had no way to light the birthday candle, but we just pretended we sang to her while she held the helmet of nachos, and it was amazing.
And helmet nachos should be disgusting when put together, but it's just not. They're amazing.
They're amazing. And I'm if memory serves me correctly, she went to the restroom afterward and rinsed the helmet out and then wore it the rest of the night. So all around, it was a huge success.
All right. So I know you're talking on your phone right now, but I need you to pull it away from your face and tell me what the countdown clock says for opening day.
I don't know if I can get to it while I'm in a call.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I think I saw downtown it's like 16 or 15 days, something like that. So
yeah, it's the 11th, so that has to be like 15 days and like, I don't know, 12 hours or so.
I can't wait.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, maybe I'll see you down there. We'll meet up and high five.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Let's not wait a year for the next one.
Yeah, bother me. Let me know, because I'm such a bad producer.
Okay, I'll put that on my list as well. Bother Craig about podcasting.
All right, thanks again. And thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. It's the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.